All right, listen up. I need you to picture this. I'm standing in front of a room full of people, all eyes on me, and the air thick with the scent of betrayal. The microphone in my hand feels like a lifeline, the only thing keeping me from drowning in the humiliation. The room is silent, but my mind is a storm. I've just been accused of falsifying data, of jeopardizing a decade of environmental research. My colleague, the one I trusted, the one I thought was my friend, is smiling smugly from the back of the room. I can see the satisfaction in his eyes, the gleam of triumph. I'm fired, discredited, and left with nothing but the echo of his lies. That was the day everything changed. That was the day I decided to turn my pain into purpose. I was an urban beekeeper, an environmental advocate, and suddenly I was a pariah. But I wasn't about to let that stop me. I was going to take this betrayal and turn it into something beautiful, something that would make the world a better place. I remember the first time I stood in front of my hives, the hum of the bees a soothing balm to my wounded soul. The city around me was a concrete jungle, but I saw potential. I saw a chance to bring life back to the barren lands, to create something out of nothing. And so I started. I started small, with just a few hives, but my vision was big. I wanted to transform the city, to turn it into a thriving ecosystem. But it wasn't easy. People laughed at me, called me a fool. They said I was wasting my time, that urban beekeeping was a hobby, not a profession. They said I was an embarrassment, a joke. But I didn't let it get to me. I knew what I was doing was important, that it was worth fighting for. And so I kept going, kept pushing, kept believing in myself even when no one else did. I remember the first time I saw a bee on a flower in the middle of the city. It was a small thing, a tiny victory, but it meant the world to me. It was a sign that I was on the right path, that I was making a difference. And from that day on, I never looked back. Years passed, and my work began to gain traction. I started to see the city change, to see the barren lands transform into lush gardens. I started to see the bees thrive, to see the ecosystem come back to life. And with each passing day, I knew I was proving the critics wrong. I was showing them that urban beekeeping was more than just a hobby, that it was a way to save the world. And then one day, I got a call. It was from my old agency, the one that had fired me, the one that had betrayed me. They wanted me to come back, to lead a new initiative, to use my expertise to help them make a difference. I was shocked, humbled, and a little bit scared. But I knew I had to do it. I had to show them that I was more than just a victim of betrayal, that I was a survivor, a fighter, a beacon of hope. So I went back. I stood in front of the same room, the same people, but this time I was different. I was stronger, wiser, more confident. I was a man on a mission, a man with a purpose. And as I spoke, as I shared my vision, my passion, my dreams, I could see the change in their eyes. I could see the respect, the admiration, the belief. And I knew in that moment that I had won. But the real victory came when I went home. I stood in front of my family, the ones who had mocked me, who had called me a fool, who had said I would never amount to anything. And I showed them. I showed them the pictures, the videos, the testimonials. I showed them the city I had helped transform, the ecosystem I had helped restore, the lives I had helped change. And I saw the shock on their faces, the disbelief, the regret. And I knew in that moment that I had proven them wrong. I had shown them that I was more than just a dreamer, that I was a doer, a maker, a changer of the world. And as I stood there, looking at their faces, I felt a sense of peace, of closure, of triumph. I had taken the pain of betrayal and turned it into purpose. I had taken the mockery and turned it into motivation. I had taken the doubt and turned it into determination. And I had won. I had won not just for myself, but for every dreamer, every fighter, every believer who had ever been told they couldn't, who had ever been told they wouldn't, who had ever been told they were nothing. So listen up. If you're out there, if you're dreaming, if you're fighting, if you're believing, don't let anyone tell you you can't. Don't let anyone tell you you won't. Don't let anyone tell you you're nothing. Because you are something. You are a dreamer, a fighter, a believer. And you have the power to change the world. So go out there and do it. Prove them wrong. Show them who you are. Show them what you're made of. And never, ever give up. Because that's what I did. And look at me now. I'm an urban beekeeper, an environmental advocate, a changer of the world, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So go out there and make your mark. Make your difference. Make your dream a reality. And never, ever let anyone tell you you can't, because you can, and you will.